Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the first show of the Investing Bros in the year 2023. I am so excited to have every single one of you guys here. Currently, there's 7 people here waiting, but I know we're going to get a lot more. We got more likes right now than we have viewers, and I know that's going to change. But if you guys are excited about 2023, let me see you say something in chat. What should I say in chat, T-Shroom?
Have them say wassa 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 wassa.
Wassa 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 wassa. That's a lot harder to type out, but at least it's only 3 letters.
Yes.
A bunch of W's.
Do you remember
and
what
S's.
that is? You remember what that's from?
Not a clue is what that's
from. From the BitConnect guy.
The BitConnect.
The BitConnect.
I don't.
Wassa,
maybe
wassa, wassa.
maybe we should reestablish what they should be saying in chat. But guys, it is going to be a phenomenal year. I'm excited about today's show. We've got a whole lot to cover in this first episode of 2023. But mostly we're going to be talking about predictions. We're going to be predicting some prices of coins. We're going to be predicting some outlooks for maybe what the crypto what do you want to call it? Universe is going to look like in the year 2023. Because I know there's a lot of FUD and FOMO out there. Speaking of FUD and FOMO, T-Shroom, how are you doing this morning? And what does our show look like today?
Well, I'm really glad that you asked, Tim, because our show is looking pretty good. We're going to be doing some awesome predictions. And just so you know, I've got something on my mind, and I wanted to share it with you, Tim. I want you to compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to somebody else is today. And especially not to somebody. And I've completely butchered that quote, but but you could read it there for yourself. That's apparently from Jordan B. Peterson, but I think others have said something along those lines in the past as well. But I think it's really important. You know, if you constantly are comparing yourself to somebody, especially who's richer than you, or more famous than you, or somebody who is better strong hodling hands than you. It's gonna be bad for you. You're gonna have a bad time. At best, if you're gonna have to compare yourself to somebody else, compare yourself to somebody who's poorer and uglier than you. That way you'll feel a little bit better about yourself. But the best thing to compare yourself to is, as JBP here is saying, is compare yourself to who you were yesterday. So that is my quote for the day, and it just exemplifies the energy surging through me.
Have you ever seen that TikToker guy who, like, his whole thing is that if you want to make gains in the weight room, you have to be unhappy. It's like the biggest enemy of gains is happiness. Yikes. So he had this whole thing. He's like, listen, comparison equals gains. Mm-hmm. What does that mean? Well, a lot of people say when you compare yourself to other people, it makes you focus on yourself, which makes you really unhappy. When you're really unhappy, you go ahead and you work hard to fix those. Therefore, comparison equals gains.
So, that's a terrible way to think.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's the whole point channel. But yeah, that's pretty funny. A couple of things going on. First of all, you guys notice it's the first show of the month, first show of the year, first show of the month,
and of the month. Yeah.
First show of the week, which means it is Mad Hatter Mondays.
Mad Hatter Mondays.
So
baby.
Hence the hat.
And I've got a surprise for Tim, and I've got a surprise for the audience.
Oh.
I haven't seen anybody say anything about it in the comments, but this mic foam is new. Tim, have you noticed that? So he's been sitting here for about 45 minutes planning. We've been planning the show. And
is that why?
He hasn't noticed.
I hadn't
noticed.
Mic foam. I didn't notice one bit. But that makes sense because it definitely sounds different in my ears than it normally does. And I kind of asked you about that right before we went live. I was like, why does it sound different in my ears?
More than likely our P's and our S's are more muted.
Wow.
And that foam is helping out with that. So thanks you guys so much for supporting the channel because you guys are the ones that made that happen. So
good stuff. Well, before we jump into crypto and before we get into it, because we haven't even gotten to engage with chat just yet, T-Shroom, what are some New Year's resolutions, or maybe you just have one main one that you are sticking to that you've kind of set?
Well, I think the biggest one is to stay fit for OCS. In June, I will be enduring the hardest week physically of my life.
Yeah.
OCS, you guys can go Google it and everything. I see Army Piper in the chat. He knows more than likely a little bit about that, but it's really, really tough. I mean, the Marines probably have a harder go of it, and then Army Special Forces have a harder go of it in their training. But OCS, that 1 week, it's called Hell Week. Or it's called Opening the Gates to Hell.
Hell Week is a SEAL thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not called. Well, there's Hell Weeks that are in like a lot of different.
They don't get to keep that for themselves.
Yeah. But that's my New Year's resolution is to get extremely fit for that, so that I can totally crush Opening the Gates to Hell at OCS. and then just enjoy a fit, sexy bod.
Boom.
What's your New Year's resolution, Tim?
Well, I have a couple of things. I actually started this one a little earlier, but I want to instill some disciplines into my life.
Okay.
I started out like it was going to be funny. This isn't going to be funny. I feel like these are actually good things. So something I started doing this probably the 27th of December. I wake up every morning and I usually turn on the warm shower first. So I'll just get warm, but I finish every single shower with 2 minutes of as cold as my shower will get. And it's been pretty bad. It says it helps a lot. Like it helps with your, it helps with obviously your metabolism and stuff. Supposedly it helps turn your white fat into brown fat a lot easier. But also it helps with circulation. I've noticed sometimes like I'll be like laying somewhere, sitting somewhere, and I'll start losing like blood to my limbs. My limbs will start falling asleep. I'm like, holy crap. So that's one thing. So cold showers and just the discipline. There's something I was watching. I think it was David Goggins. He was talking about like just if you can just start forcing yourself to do things you do not want to do, you will be surprised how much easier almost everything in your life you don't want to do becomes for you to actually get it done. Yeah. So just starting doing little things like that. I recreated. So I told people on Twitter a little bit ago. Within this last month was the first time I had benched over 225 again without pain in my shoulder.
Nice.
Which has been very frustrating for my workout routine because I love heavy lifting, but I just had to for like 2 years not really lift at all. So now that I'm able to do that again, I have a brand new like strength routine to start making some strength gains necessarily. Need to cut some weight. So I mean that's the obvious January thing if everyone wants to lose weight. Mine is more about performance though. I think like I want to get back to where I can run. I would love by the end of this year to run a 6-minute mile.
Wow.
I would love to get back to benching. I'm not going to say 400 again, but I'm going to say 350. I want to get back to benching about 350. I don't care about deadlift and squat because honestly, where I am currently is good enough, and where you want to go, you don't want to hurt your back on stuff like that. So I have a lot of discipline and performance resolutions.
You do. And Army Piper had just said that my other New Year's resolution should be to accept his friend request in Discord.
Oh, that's
well,
good.
I just did it.
Boom. Well, let's engage. Speaking of chat, let's engage in chat. We got 33 people in here, a little bit smaller for today, but I'm sure that more views will come a little bit later. Let's see who is here. First of all, shout out to CBD Suddy. He was the first one in chat, and I love the new quote he has. Where did it go down here? He says, I'm getting positive vibes, even though I know it may not be all rainbows and organisms. So that's going to be a new regular on the show.
An accidental.
It's not all
censoring.
Rainbows and organisms. So
I see me padre, in the chat here. Steve Shrum says, hi. Maybe a little brief, but chipper.
Yeah. Curtis Rorick?
Roderick? Is it wrong?
Nope. There's no D in it, unless he misspelled his own name. Good morning, Curtis. Let's see here. Mr. J is in chat. Brian Hoskins says this is the rare occasion he gets to watch live. Welcome, Brian. Of course, we already had CBD Suddy. Who else is here? Liberty Above All is in chat. Gia S is in chat. Eric Wallen is here. Seabass City. Thomas L. Servando Estrada. Army Piper, as mentioned. Zager is here. Who else? Maddie123. Trevor. Oh, Trevor was a first-time listener the other day, so glad to see Trevor back in chat. Let's see. Anyone that I'm missing? Brent Holt and Brad Geidel and Corey Zinberg. Welcome, everybody. We're about to jump in and do some technical analysis, make some price predictions on some of your favorite coins like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano. We might do one more. But before we go, there's an article that kind of kicks us off that T-Stream wants to talk about, and it has to do with two absolutely polar opposite Bitcoin price predictions for 2023. I want to kind of hear what you guys in chat think, and then we'll address it ourselves when we go look at the Bitcoin charts.
Yes. So let's get into that. My entire Chrome browser just crashed, but I got it back up in time.
That's what you want.
So this article is the boldest Bitcoin calls for 2023 are out, and a 1,400% rally or a 70% plunge may be in the cards. So let's see who's saying what here. So Tim Draper, we've heard the name. I've definitely heard the name. It's not somebody we're super familiar with, but he's saying 250,000. But in November, the billionaire venture capitalist said he's extending his timeline for the prediction until mid-2023. So he had already predicted 250,000 for the end of 2022. Obviously was wrong, but went ahead and extended that out.
And he's saying mid-2023.
Right.
He's not even saying the end. He's saying mid. So
Right.
we'll cover why that's a little bit ludicrous.
Yeah.
But
So I mean, he's a multi-billionaire. You know, he's not completely crazy, obviously, but
well, we had a Russian guy the other day also talk about all of his predictions.
oh yeah,
So just because you have money doesn't mean that you make everything.
yeah,
Make every prediction.
Mendenov
right.
or whatever his name was.
Mendenov.
That's definitely not his name,
Mendov.
but it's something like that. Okay, so this is back to Draper. He said, I suspect that the halving in 2024 will have a positive run. So that is an aspect to consider. But let's look at some other predictions here. So Standard Chartered, which I believe is an English bank. Let's take a look just so, we'll probably mention it here. In December 5th, research note, Standard Chartered said that Bitcoin may sink as low as 5,000. The prediction, one of the bank's list of surprises that are being underpriced by markets, would represent a 70% plunge from current prices. So what do you think about that one, Tim? Do you think that's a, well, they say, Robertstein said, so the guy representing Standard Chartered here with his prediction said, it's a non-zero probability of occurring in the year ahead and falls materially outside of the market's consensus or our own baseline views.
Yeah, I think that key right at the end, the non-zero probability, they're kind of even going and playing their card and saying, we're not saying this is definitely going to happen.
Right.
We're just saying there's a potential, and I'm going to have to go ahead and agree with them. I do not expect we're going down to 5,000, but I can tell you right now, of those two predictions that were just made, I would put more stock in a $5,000 Bitcoin than a $250,000 Bitcoin in the year 2023.
Wow.
Move it out to a couple of years in the future, that changes. But I think most people that are watching, let me know in chat, which do you think is more likely, 250,000 Bitcoin or $5,000 Bitcoin? I'd be very surprised to see too many people say
disagree.
250.
It's not that I think that that Bitcoin's gonna go to 250,000. Yeah. I just think there's a better chance of it because I think that it's so unlikely. There's too many levels in between here and 5,000 that Bitcoin wouldn't get bought up. So it's close to zero, in my opinion, that it would ever go down to 5. I could eat those words. If you'd asked me in 2022 and 2021 if Bitcoin could get back down to 15,000, I probably would have said there's too much buying at certain levels. But
here's the problem. Bitcoin to 250,000 means more than a $4 trillion market cap.
Yeah.
That's not happening in 2023.
I mean, there's events. There's events that can occur.
I still think 250,000 might be even a little high for the top of the bull market, unless Bitcoin's dominance starts to take over, which we'll talk about that here in just a little bit. But I do not foresee in the year 2023 $4 trillion going into Bitcoin alone, let alone, I don't think $4 trillion in the year 2023 is going to make it into crypto. I think that we're talking about potentially in 2025 having maybe and I think there's more trillions coming in 2025. I think people are going to get blown away what happens in late 2024, early 2025, but we will see. Let's go ahead and jump into Bitcoin charts, though, and we'll kind of make some predictions as we go, but let's start with some updating on people on what is happening. I'm out here on the 3 daily chart, actually. So Bitcoin, this is a newer one. I think I'd made this on the last show we were on Friday. But I went ahead and redrew some lines. There was a longer timeline falling wedge that we'd already breaking bullish out of. I will keep you guys posted if we do anything funny, like dropping to readdress this line that would have gone from all-time high, touched also right here around April of 2022. But currently, we're in a different falling wedge pattern. We're making our way back over in a sideways fashion towards that resistance level. It will be interesting to see what happens there. But this kind of gives us the guidelines we would need for, and I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. I'm not guaranteeing that the bottom is in. I'm not saying that we set a new low. It would make sense to get down potentially into the $14,000 region, mostly around 14,300. Well, guess what? This falling wedge pattern, if we were to start making our way over, maybe even work a little to the upside, hit our heads on this 17,500 once again, come back down potentially down into that region. We're talking about 14.3, and then we make our bullish breakout of the falling wedge pattern. That's not an exact price prediction on what could happen. I'm just saying that would make a lot of sense with our current levels of developing falling levels of resistance, falling levels of support in the falling wedge pattern. So keep your eyes on what's happening right there with Bitcoin. Let's look at it a little bit closer. Let's go down to the 4-hourly chart and see what is developing on a shorter term timeline. We are up, and if you guys were to look, got to take my marker off here. If you guys were to look over here, can they see this? Let me actually go ahead and zoom in if I can. I'll do a little T-shroom move where we zoom in over here.
Oh.
Everything is up right now when we're looking at the crypto market. This is the crypto market cap in general. We're up almost a full %. Bitcoin's up 0.5%. But then you're looking at some of these others. A lot of them. We even have, I think, Litecoin when I was looking earlier.
Yeah, Litecoin's up 6.4.
It was up over 7% when we were checking this morning. The big one, and we'll talk about this one a little bit later, Solana up 11%. Wow. We'll be making a Solana prediction in case anyone is wondering. And some people might not like it because they don't like, okay, zoom out for me. Some people do not like our take on Solana, but we're going to be making one, so stay tuned for that. Bitcoin is making its way back up. I'm going to keep my eyes on this level. I think that actually when we're looking at where we came down and touched, here's another thing that T-Shroom won. Some of you guys were there on Friday when we kind of predicted where will we close the year out. Well, sure enough, the year closed I think somewhere around 16,500, which T-Shroom predicted 16,400. I said 16,380. Where we closed, let me get to the daily chart close. Where were we? We closed right here at 16,520. So T-Shroom does get the win on that. But if you look, it did almost exactly what I thought it would do. It just did it early. We came down and touched 16,337. We had a wick that came down the other day. So in a way, we were both right. You just were more right than I was right. So you get the dub on this one. You know, take your wins. My point, though, what I want to talk about here is we're starting to potentially see similar to what we have developing, and we're going to talk about this in a second, but over on Ethereum, we have a little bit of a channel. A couple other coins we have channels. We might not look at all of them today. Is Bitcoin starting to slowly form a form of channel where 16,300 is going to be a level of support to keep an eye on. Let me go ahead and just draw a little, I'll go ahead and put a box right there. Let me go ahead and just put a little zone. This is going to be an interesting level. Every time we dip, to keep an eye on this little zone right here. Watch potentially as Bitcoin starts to climb back up towards this zone around 16,900, maybe even touching 17,000 again. Let's look at the RSI and our oscillators. We're not overbought at the moment. We're not oversold at the moment. In fact, what we're looking at on the 4-hour chart, there's definitely room to the upside when we're looking at both these. So I'm liking that prediction I'm kind of making here in the short term, that I think there's a decent chance we touch once again around this $17,000 level. It will be interesting to see, do we break this, this zone? Do we end up going through it, in which case turning it back into support, and then start making our way towards that resistance level we were talking about prior on Bitcoin, and maybe start hitting our heads on it either at 17,000 over here, make our way over and hit it sometime maybe late January, or do we break through now? I don't think we will. I think more realistically, a realistic Bitcoin price is going to look like a bounce here, come back down, bounce here, and then we start to slowly make our way towards this level, hit our heads, and then we fall back down. Watch for that to kind of happen on Bitcoin. But let's zoom back out on Bitcoin before we move on to Ethereum and Cardano, because again, like we said, today's video is going to be a lot of predictions for Bitcoin and other projects. What do you think, T-Shroom? Before I go, what are your thoughts about Bitcoin in the year 2023?
Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, I have a lot. You mean like specifically price action?
Yeah. Let's start with price action, and you can make some other observations as well.
Okay. Yeah, well, let me go over to my chart then. Let's do that. That's your chart.
That would be my chart. Yeah.
So that's still your chart. I think it's not.
No, I think that's yours. That's not my chart that you're looking at right now.
That's not my chart. So I'll go out to the weekly candles here, and yeah, I do have a lot drawn on here, but the kind of where I'm thinking Bitcoin's going to settle in terms of price is 12,000. I mean, that's a very popular opinion. That's kind of the consensus in a lot of ways. Wouldn't you agree?
You think we bottom out at 12,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's bullish, I'd say, in the sense of like
it's bullish.
Some folks are thinking we go down to 10.
Yeah.
Obviously, we saw Standard Charter thinks it's going to go down to 5, but some people are also saying like 8,500.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be 12, just because of this major support here, and then also how it interacts here back. Let's see.
All right, so I'm seeing in the chat people are saying, T-Shroom, you are quiet, and you're definitely quiet compared to me. So if you need, I think you need to turn yours up a little bit, your mic.
Okay. All right, I can do that right now.
While you're doing that, Magic Internet Money is in chat. Speaking of Magic Internet Money, we're going to be having guests on very soon, and he is absolutely going to be one of them. So shout out to Magic Internet Money, and shout out to this new year with Zoom calls coming back to our live show. When I say back, I mean here in the first place. But yeah, go ahead and continue with your prediction.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, this is just to kind of wrap it up here.
Yeah.
You can see this is where I like to draw the line. That's basically what it comes down to, is just a good line being drawn here. You could draw it here, down here with these levels of support. You could theoretically draw it down here, but I don't like that. I don't think there's a fundamental argument for it going down that low. Right here, you could potentially draw a line.
Okay.
Just where things kind of line up with each other. But I think more than likely, just from a technical analyst standpoint, this is where I think the strongest argument for this would be 12,000. And then I pretty much discount this 33. I think it's just going to be 12,000.
Yeah.
Obviously, it will probably go a little bit higher or a little bit lower than that, just as the market goes. But that's kind of my prediction.
Yeah, I think, kind of following where you're going with this, we can pull up the fixed range volume profile, look at a couple different things. The fattest level of volume on Bitcoin is actually going to be putting us down towards 9,000. I think that there's an outside chance we go down there. Again, as the other prediction made this morning, it's a non-zero probability. The reason I have $14,000 zone, I've said this before, it's this valley we have right here. And we've noticed as we're getting closer, we dip below this big peak we had back at 16,600. The Bears just cannot gain new momentum. They need a big story to come out to break, to go lower. I think there's a chance we end up coming down into this little valley. And we said this before, on these fixed range volume profiles, valleys are just as important as peaks for resistance levels, support levels. So the reason I'm looking at 14.3, that's the bottom of that little valley. And then we have a little bit of volume that picks up here around 13.6 and 13,000. So it could get down there. I'm a more realistic thinker. I think that 14.3 makes sense. It also fits within this falling wedge pattern we have developing. That's my bottom. I'm looking at 2023. And realistically, I'm actually looking at late Q1 for that to potentially happen. Zooming out into the future, however, this is where T-Shirt and I talked about this morning. I'm not going to make a prediction for what it looks like at the end of the year, like where we close the yearly candle out. I will say, though, I think that sometime maybe late Q3, early Q4, I would not be surprised to see Bitcoin get back up above 30,000 and maybe make its way towards 40,000. I do not think that we're going to see a new all-time high in the year 2023. I think we're waiting for a new all-time high in 2024 and then the peak of the bull market in 2025. However, I would not be surprised as we start making our way late in the year, and getting towards this halving cycle to potentially end the year, maybe get in the region of 37, 38, maybe even hit our heads. Let's see here, around 45 is a little high for my taste. I'm looking at the monthly chart and it's not giving me good credits. Maybe hitting our head somewhere around 38,000 and then dipping down before a nice run to start off the year 2024. So again, new all-time highs, no, but the beginning of the bull market finally happening, yes. But the last thing is you might have to wait a while. Like I said, we might be ending the year, the Q1 down lower with new lows before we slowly start making our way back up. Q2, Q3, you're kind of hovering in areas we've been in before, but yeah, we're flirting with the mid to higher 20s. It's Q4, I think. Late Q3, Q4, we start getting back over 30. And then we potentially dip back down, maybe end the year somewhere around 30,000 in that range. That's what kind of makes the most sense to me. There's one more thing before we move on. Let me know what you guys think about Bitcoin. If you guys like those predictions, if you agree with them, or if you have something else that you're thinking. There's something that's going around right now, and I wanted to address it. And we're spending a lot of time on Bitcoin, so today's show is going to be very interesting because we got a lot of predictions to make. So we're going to have to kind of speed through others, but I do think that this is important. So right now, this is the yearly candle right now on the log chart. And people have been pointing out on Twitter, I've seen, that this is a bearish engulfing candlestick. I got a couple things I want to say about this for the yearly candlestick that we just saw. First of all, there's lots of different ways to say things. You're not going to find two technical analysts agree on every little detail. I'm in the boat that a stronger engulfing candlestick would also have a wick that is higher than this wick right here. Is the body bigger? Absolutely it is. But I don't see this as a true forming bearish engulfing candlestick. But let's say even if it was, that's not 100% that we're going to continue to the downside. Like some people are reading this as like, oh, that means 2023 is going to be red and then 2024 is going to be red and we're going to start a new yearly red trajectory. No, that's not what this means. You got to take a little bit of context into the picture. And let's go over here and look at these two candles right here and address what's happening with these two. Let's talk through them. This, of course, being 2021, when we had a major bull market run and we ended up topping out at about, 69,000 or 67,000. Sorry. Why does that say 60? And we went higher than that. Anyway, almost getting to 70,000, ended up falling short. Well, guess what? This rally really started in Q4 of 2020. So the majority of this green candle that got us above, and the reason why this red candle is closing lower, it actually happened very, very late 2020. And the only reason why we're looking at a smaller green candle in 2021 is because these things start. They don't care about nice rally starting. They just care about January 1st and December 31st. In all reality, this is kind of a misleading trajectory of candles, because when you look at the past, let's look at these other bear markets. Massive green candle where we had a massive bull run, and then this one is about a 50, almost a 60% pullback. Same thing, we had a massive bull run here in 2017. Then 2018, we had, I think this one's going to be a 73% pullback during that 1 year. If you're looking at this is going to tell us, well, in 2021, we only rallied during the body of about 60%, not that much of a rally necessarily, and then we pulled back 73%. But if you were to take into consideration a lot of these candles, this rally, this bull market that we boomed in, it really more started around the $10,000 region late in the year 2020, which means in reality, this candle it should be almost this much from this level should be accredited to 2021, in which case if this candle right here came all the way down here, we would not have a bearish engulfing candlestick. So I wanted to make sure everyone looked at that with, that might have been confusing, T-shirt. Did that make sense to the people watching?
No, I think it made sense.
The only reason why this candle is so big and this one's so little is because the bull market started very, very late of 2020. In reality, I think a better thing to keep in mind when you're looking at this is, when did the bull rally really, really get its wings? And that was late 2020, and that's what carried us in. And if we were to count just bull market candles, we're starting actually way down. Like when it really took off, we're starting way down on the $11,000 level. That is not a bearish engulfing candlestick. I don't think traders will utilize it that way. So if anyone was flooding out of Bitcoin saying, we just developed a bearish engulfing candlestick, make sure you're using some context and you're using some common sense. You're not just blindly following charts and making predictions based off of them. Let's go and move on, and we got to move kind of quickly through these other ones. Let's go to Ethereum and kind of look at what Ethereum is doing, T-Shroom. I'm going to go ahead and start first, and I want you to kind of address what you think. The first thing, I got to go back to my linear chart because this is where we have some important stuff going on. We're in a long time frame falling wedge pattern, but guess what, guys? Here on the daily chart, if you guys were to come and zoom in with me, we over the weekend broke bullishly through the resistance level. Now we're in a little trading channel of our own with Ethereum, and we're kind of getting up towards resistance levels. So short term, we'll talk more about this tomorrow. Short term, Ethereum looks like it could have some bearish action, but right now the breaking of that falling wedge resistance is a bullish move. Ethereum, I believe, same thing. I think a little more bullish. I do not think we're going to be sitting and hitting new all-time highs in the year 2023. But I think that theoretically speaking, it would not be out of the question for Ethereum to get up towards 3,500, back up to the peak that we had back in April of 2022. I think Ethereum, with its tokenomics that it has, with the fact that every single day it is working towards becoming deflationary, because of that, it has the lowest amount of daily growing supply. Every time demand comes in, the price will just go up. I don't think new all-time high yet in 2023. I could be wrong. I would love to be wrong, but I do think some nice levels, potentially all the way back up towards 3,500 for me on Ethereum. I do not think we're seeing a new low. I think Ethereum is one of the coins that will avoid a new low. Potentially we touch 1,000 again, but I'm not even convinced of that at this point. I'm more looking to the upside on Ethereum, and the upside looks good. What do you think, T-Shroom?
Yeah, taking a look over at Ethereum, I'm on the weekly chart again, and I'm seeing it's basically a descending triangle pattern, which is bearish. And this is the weekly chart again. So what I'm thinking is we probably, continue to the downside. Unfortunately, I think it's gonna break lower, whether that be from news or from a technical breakdown. I know Tim just pointed out that things are looking bullish in the short term. So probably if I had to draw it out, it'd probably be a come up, tap this upper bound of this the resistance here on this downtrending line.
Where would you have that price hitting? Because the really short term, like next couple of days, I think there's a rejection coming here soon.
Yeah.
But longer term is what I was just talking about.
So it looks like it would come up to maybe 1,323 if it were to really come up and test that. And then obviously from there would break down and come lower and find some support somewhere.
I think 1230 is going to look like some nice resistance for Ethereum.
Yeah. But overall, definitely, trying to be realistic about it. I don't know exactly where I would draw the levels. I would have to defer to Tim on that, but probably somewhere around here. I mean, I'm looking back. You see this. I don't know if I would want to draw it on the wick or on the candlestick there, but 800 is kind of where that line's coming out to. Again, I'm not saying that that's exactly where it needs to come down to, but it did come down it wicked down as low as 900. And let's see if I can zoom in on that a little more to get a little bit of accurate reading. Do you remember what that was? Yeah, 800.
It was 800 and something, yeah.
878. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for it to come down there and touch that in 2023. And then you also have some much stronger lines of support right here, as you have at least 3 taps on this line, which this comes down to 422. So that would be a lot more bearish. I'm not saying that it has to come down there or that it needs to. Let's take a look though at the MACD and the RSI at these level at the weekly chart here. So MACD way under. So it's been in the bearish zone of control for quite a while, and those green histograms are kind of plateaued, meaning they're steadily buying here, but it's not really showing signs of moving in one direction or the other. But that's just the MACD. Meanwhile, again, RSI in the bearish zone of control, not really showing any kind of movement one way or the other, and that is reflected pretty nicely here in the price movement as it just coils into this triangle. That's my TA on ETH there.
Yeah, and it's already 9:30 now at this point. I'm just gonna close with Ethereum. I think that Ethereum could have another dip. I talked about Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's gonna set a new low. I just don't think. I think Ethereum has created so many bullish gains that it's kind of setting new. I'm trying to think of how to phrase it, but like it's resetting the level. So it would be a big dip for Ethereum to go back down to 1,000. In the same way, it would be a big dip for Bitcoin to get down into the 1400s and set a new low. Yeah. I think absolutely the charts are showing it is possible that we could break back down and go as far as setting, back to matching the former low of 800 and, what is this, 880 or so.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say my prediction is we don't go that low. My prediction is 1,000 at the lowest, and again, the highest, I think we're pushing 3,500. I would love to hear what you guys think on that one. Let's move on and let's do some Cardano, which has been, what a fun one. What a fun one to be following this year. Let's look at a shorter time frame right now. Cardano is working inside of its own falling wedge pattern, going back towards that resistance level. So it'll be very interesting to see what Cardano does around 25.8 cents. Will it be rejected at that red line and start to come back down towards support? I don't know why I'm using the keypad instead of my mouse. Potentially a new low for Cardano. We talked about this before. Again, the support levels kind of support this. 22 to 20 cents. I wouldn't be surprised to see Cardano potentially reject off of this resistance. Come on, marker. Come for me now. Reject off this red line. Come back down. Maybe find support around 22 cents, and then we find a bullish breakout on Cardano. So that being said, my low on Cardano, realistically, I think 22 to 20 cents is a good spot. I think if things really badly happen, again, Cardano has been doing a little bit different than Bitcoin and Ethereum and other altcoins. I think worst case scenario, we're looking at about a 15 cent a Cardano. I've seen people throw out 8 cents, 2 cents because they're getting crazy bearish. I don't see those things happening. Again, I've been wrong before. If you were to ask me a couple months ago, I thought we were going to find support more at that 30-cent range. We did not. Now I'm looking at it. I'm just following the charts. I think 22 cents to 20 cents is a good range, but worst case scenario, 15 cents. As far as where we could end the year at, Cardano's going to be a fun one this year. We just ended the year with Cardano being the most developed altcoin out there. Let me go. Oh, I'm still on my marker. That's why I keep every time I click, it gives me that. Let's kind of macro. Let's zoom out to the macro page, and I think I have to change to a different. Yeah, I do. Let me go over here and go to the Binance on Cardano chart. So we just had 2 very polarizing years for Cardano, where in 2021, Cardano, when it jumped up here around over $3, was probably the most overbought altcoin out there, meaning most overextended, really did not have the business of being that high. To where I think they just ended 2022. I'm not going to say the most because I think some other altcoins are sitting in some very good buying spots. But I think Cardano in 2022 is potentially one of the most oversold altcoins. So it's doing this very much swinging the pendulum of both directions of being way too high and now being way too low. I think a more realistic price for Cardano to end the year, I think potentially coming back up to some highs that we had back here in January of this year, I think we could see $1.60 for Cardano as it starts to make its way. I think 2024, we see a new all-time high again, same as the others. 2025 is when we actually get our official high. But my prediction right now is, again, 22 cent bottom with $1.60 top. Worst case scenario, we go down towards 15 cents. Best case scenario, potentially, we get back up over $2. I think it would be a lot to get Cardano over $2 this year. I think they have a lot of stuff still developing. I'm going to match highs of this year back in January, and that is around $1.60. That's my take for Cardano, where it's going to be. What do you guys think? And T-Shirt, what are your thoughts about Cardano?
Well, it's tough, man, because there's not a lot of momentum for Cardano. I feel like if they could get, on the fundamental side, in terms of like a business dev. So from a technical development standpoint, they're strong, right? Yeah. But from a business development, if all they need is really just one big headline, like they partner with Samsung or they partner with Nike or they partner with some organization and they're able to in some way benefit them sustainably ongoing. If they could get a headline like that, that would be really, really good. They just have not learned the lesson that you have to have PR in the fundamental space, not just the tech dev space. But I wanted to point something out really quick because Tyler Main mentioned a scam wick on XRP.
Yep, there was one.
And you can see that here. XRP last over the night, it traded down to 30 cents. You call it 29 cents, so it's a little scary. But overall, I think Cardano. Yeah. It's gonna stand the test of time, but they have to be a little more outspoken about their biz dev development. So,
and here's the thing. So Cardano used to the biggest accusation against Cardano here last year was they've been promising us a good game, but what are they delivering on? A lot of people were like, Cardano is a bunch of telling the future, not actually giving us what we want, right? They're developing this year. Like this year, they were the most developed coin of 2022. They are producing. Are they where they want to be in the long run? Not yet. I think Cardano has a long way to go, but at least they're now developing. So the haters now are saying, oh, Cardano doesn't do anything. They can't say that anymore. Now their argument is they're too slow. They don't have the institutional money. Here's the thing. I think Charles is playing this the right way. I think that he understood that he needed to garner a massive community early to gain support and notoriety. He did that. They probably have the most avid community in the crypto space. Do they have all the institutional adoption? No, they do not. But why would you want institutions buying into your project when you don't have everything you want? That would be a recipe for disaster, because if you don't do what you want to get done and now the institution gets burned by you, they don't want to touch you with a 10-foot pole. And that is a nice segue into our next project. Solana. Solana is the exact opposite of Cardano. And I'll say it in good ways and bad ways. Whereas Cardano took forever to develop things, Solana did things very, very quickly, getting a lot of not just community, because they did grow their community very well. They got that institutional adoption. They got the backing of power players like, again, this sounds funny to say it, but if we had said this name 6 months ago, we'd be thinking, oh yeah, good move, Solana. They had the backing of Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. That is a great move for them. The problem is, with Solana, they had a lot of outages. They weren't quite there yet. Their security was not necessarily where they want it to be. I actually, was on the show the other day with Paul Barron. Great show. Got a lot of negative. We were talking about Solana the whole time. Got a lot of people hating me because of my take on Solana. I agree with people that Solana's tech is some of the best tech out there. They lack security, but they do accomplish things very fast. But here's the problem, going back to what I just said about Charles Hoskinson. Charles Hoskinson didn't ask for the institutions to come in when things weren't ready. He's going to let the institutions and ask for institutions to come in when he's good and ready for them. Solana wanted the institutional money first, and they ended up getting burned. And my question about Solana, as we start to predict what Solana could do, is Solana going to be able to regain the trust of A, the user, and B, institutions? Because we did just see institutions be invested in Solana, but we're watching developers jump ship like it's crazy. Institutions, of course, are bailing. My question is, they have a small community they're continuing to hold on to, and some people, if you're a Solana lover, you are very adamant about it, and good for you. If you're convicted, good for you. I'm not even going to argue that the tech of Solana is terrible. I'm not a tech guy, so I'm not the best opinion on that one. But I would, for the sake of argument, I would give any Solana lover, hey, let's just say Solana has phenomenal tech. I think for Solana to make it long-term, it needs to be absolutely the number one technology out there. Again, I wouldn't be able to know. I'm not a tech guy, so I wouldn't be able to know if that was it or not. But it has a problem of trust right now. It brought in the institutions. It brought in the attention. It brought in the money. And unfortunately, maybe it wasn't even their fault completely, but because of who they connected their cart to, they flopped on their face. And the question is, will they ever be trusted again? So let's go look. Gotta get over there. Let's go look at the Solana chart and make a couple of things. So first of all, it's not dropping. It's not like dying the way that we saw. Let's see. We saw Celsius drop. We saw Luna drop. Like just these absolute terrible drops that there's just no recovery from. Here's what I will say. Solana did just have a 73% drop. Like after the FTX news, gotta grab my, there we go. We dropped 73%, right? 78%, my God, 79% since that FTX news dropped. No other coin in the market has done that. That right there tells you the lack of trust in Solana. The question is, do we survive to 2023? And if so, what are some potential bottoms we should be looking at? Let's zoom out to the longer time frames. And let's look at some of these levels. I drew a lot of these, have a lot of these levels coming from former peaks. If you guys are going back here into what it looked like back in 2020, keep your eyes on 516, 431, and then the last one being 252. These are all levels where they had former resistance or support. You're going to see this 516 was the high that we had back in 2020 before another dip. That's going to be an interesting price to keep your eyes on. Also, we're looking at 435 right here. That was a level we struggled with resistance back here in early 2020, also in early 2021 before we finally broke through. And the last one that has been used as both resistance and support. Support back here in early 2020, support back here in 2021, resistance in late 2020. That is about 251, and I think that's going to be 252, sorry. That's going to be probably the levels I think T. Shroom is going for. But what do you think about, this is one of the projects. The other ones we were predicting top sides. I don't know about top side for Solana. I think Solana has a lot more south to go. It has a lot of downward action. They're going down to the South Pole.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
South side? Yeah, well, going over to my chart over here, you can see I've got it drawn down 75%, down to 261. I'm going to zoom out here in a second to show you guys why I'm drawing those levels of support. But first, let me just say, I never got into Solana. I feel like on all the channels that I've been on over the last 2 years, I have always spoke ill of Solana. Why? The main reason is because of all the outages they've had. Mm-hmm. You see very little other cryptos in the top 10 that have had outages. In fact, none to my knowledge. Not that there hasn't been, because I don't know everything. But I have never been bullish on Solana. Unfortunately, the one like grandparent of mine, he's an uncle of mine, that I flipped an orange pilled, he bought Solana, and so instead of buying Bitcoin. So let's take a look at the chart. I'll show you guys why I'm drawing my support out where I am, and also just so you guys know, the markets are closed today because it's New Year's. Happy New Year's. So the crypto markets and the currency markets soldier on, but the stock market is closed in the United States. So take a look here. This is where I'm drawing my support line here. And why? Well, a lot of it has to do with what the trading action back in 2000 August of 2020, back up until 2021, the early months of that year. And you can see here it touched here and kind of stayed. The price action developed some pretty strong resistance here. Mm-hmm. Could not break through. Went back and tested $1, and then we just went on a pretty aggressive bull run from there. But also you have this high right here that got tested back. I know it's not tapping that price, that level of support exactly, but that's just kind of the basis for why I'm drawing that line there. And again, that line is coming out right at about, you call it a little bit north of $2.50, call it 260. So that's kind of my prediction for Solana. And again, that would represent about a 65% shed, a 65% drawdown. And if I could get TradingView to cooperate here with me, it may not. So that's unfortunate why it won't do it, but that doesn't work the other way.
It has its glitches sometimes.
There we go. There you can see 70, 75, 77% there. So that's Solana for you.
And it's one thing. So I do think one of their problems was not fully being able to deliver on everything they promised. Paul Barron made a good point the other day when I was on his show. And this is the last thing I'll say about Solana, and then we'll move on to some other predictions that don't have to do with coins, but just have to do with the ecosystem of crypto.
Yeah.
They took a very traditional tech route. And Solana was a centralized coin. I think that's another thing that pissed a lot of people off, which shouldn't have. This is the one thing I will give Solana points for. A lot of people didn't like Solana because it was centralized. We've been working with centralized companies and entities for a very long time. As long as they're very open about it, they understand. I have no problem with centralized entities. They did a very traditional tech thing, and they did seek that attention, that money early. The problem is they did not develop, and they attached themselves to the wrong people. Is that their fault? Not necessarily. I don't think Solana, just like the rest of us, could have ever imagined how absolutely horrible SBF was. Maybe they did, and if they did, that's terrible. But I'm going to go and give them the benefit of the doubt and said they did not realize that they had just attached themselves to the devil. That hurts them, though, however. Yeah. And they also did not deliver on everything the way they promised. Remember when they first came out, they acted like what they were going to develop was going to put us into the new world of Ready Player One, for anyone who saw that movie. When you looked at what they developed, it's like, this is nowhere close. This is not great. They did things very fast. They still do things very fast. I think that's why there's a lot of community that stays there, is they love how fast and how cheap the gas fees and everything are. Guess what? That's phenomenal. The problem is trust. And you can call it luck. You can call it whatever you want to. Unfortunately, the way the cards have played over the last 6 months, Solana has lost institutional trust, and has lost user trust, and it has lost developer trust. Those are three things you need to succeed. So everyone who screams and yells Solana has great technology, it wouldn't be the first time a business was actually a very good business and had a great product and still failed because they didn't know how to market it, they didn't know how to get it out there, and no one trusted them. So for those reasons, I'm out on Solana. I'm like Kevin O'Leary. I don't think I'll be able to trust them. And I also, again, as a trader, you kind of watch. You need other people to like something. If I don't think other people like a product, I will not enter and invest in that product and trade on it because it's not going to be successful. Let's move on and let's cover some other things that we wanted to kind of get at. Not just coin predictions. So in case you guys are just joining us, thank you to everyone who's here. Make sure you smash that like button. We've given our Bitcoin price prediction, Ethereum price prediction, ADA, and now Solana. Let's move on to some subjects, T-Shroom.
Yeah.
And kind of paint a layout of what this could look like in 2023, because these are big subjects in 2022 that are not yet ended. They're going to continue on. Let's talk about the Fed and what the Fed's going to look like this next year. Let's talk about the XRP lawsuit just a little bit. Let's talk about regulation, and then let's close it out potentially with some altcoin dominance questions, because that keeps changing, especially based off of the SEC. Let's start off with the Fed. We had just ended this year with Fed rate hikes, bringing us all the way up to between 4.25 to 450. So the federal rate right now is, let's just call it 450, 4.5. What are your thoughts about this next year? Yes, we've seen dot plots. What do you think the Fed's going to end up getting us to? Where do you think we'll end the year? And what do you think that's going to look like along the way?
It's okay. So let's go over. I got some stuff pulled up here on my screen, so as you can see, this is the story of the federal funds rate over since 2020. We don't need to go back that far, but you can see here, going back to 2007. This is the important rate. So this was the previous high in the last significant amount of time, and as you can see, it went up to 5 and change. So 525 essentially, call it. And right now we are at 425. So we have a decent amount of room to run here. I think that the Fed will at least go up that high to 525, and that's going to be my prediction. Just because that worked for them back then, but I don't think that they want to go much higher than that. And they've got, so this is the schedule for 2023, the central bank calendar for 2023. There's some other nuggets over here. You get the euro and the ECB and the BOE schedules as well. But you can see the first decision here is going to be February 1st. And as you can see, also over here, the CME is predicting. Let me go ahead and refresh the page just so we can get an accurate reading on that.
Right.
But it's predicting 25 still, and by 92% level of certainty. That's from the CME though. That's not like a scientific inquiry. That's still the market making that prediction. But overall, yeah, I think I'd put my number at, I think they're going to cap it at 525. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I think you're right. So go back to my screen real quick. This is the dot plot that we're looking at here. There's things to be aware of here.
Nice.
This dot plot, their thoughts are, the Fed, what they have told us, and things changed. They think that we're going to end the year in 2023 at 4.875. What this means is between 4.75 and 5, which means we need to have an additional, at this point, this would be an additional 50 points. We heard from Jerome Powell himself. The market they're going to have to peak out at 5.1, which means 5 to 5.25.
Yeah.
So that means the expectations that he's kind of laid out for us, if everything goes according to his plan, we should, theoretically speaking, get up another 75 points additional to what we are at right now, and then drop. And by the end of the year, he's going to do 1.25 drop.
Yeah.
Cut. And we're going to end the year between 4.75 and 5. So that's easy right there. You can go off my screen now. You can go back to me. That's easy to kind of explain right there and say, all right, that's where we're going to end. The question is where we're going to get. Well, what's the route to get there? And right now, I think that we're looking at February, which is now 4 weeks away. I think that a 25 basis point rate hike looks almost certain at this point. The question is, are we going to stay aggressive early in the year to get up to that 5.25? I think the answer is yes, especially with that $1.7 trillion bill that was just passed. Where's that money coming from? It's getting printed.
Right.
What is Jerome Powell saying his focus on? It's on inflation. He's preparing the economy where the jobs are going to look bad. But I think potentially we do to him, it's almost a pause to do 25 basis points. It's going to be like hey, let's see if we can actually get a handle on this. I just would not be surprised to see either a 50 the month right after or another 25 the next 2 months and get to that 5.1 quickly. I think some people are expecting we're going to do 25 basis points and then pause and then wait a little bit. If I'm hearing Jerome Powell correctly in his last speech, he wants to get there quickly, be there for a long time, and then it looks like at the end of the year potentially do one cut to end us maybe in like September, or maybe October, November, or December in quarter 4. That's my prediction on that. Let me know in chat what you guys think. I think the economy, again, this is the sad part of the show. I think the economy is going to see some pain before it sees some good days. But guess what? With crypto, we didn't even get to talk about that. Maybe we'll talk about that more tomorrow. Despite the fact the economy might go down, we might see Bitcoin actually benefit because of that, and even maybe things like Ethereum and Cardano as well. Let's move on to our next topic that we wanted to talk about today. What about the XRP lawsuit? We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but T-Shroom, let's keep this nice and simple. Does the XRP lawsuit end this year? And if so, what do you think the decision is going to be?
Oof. Well, there's been at least one development that I haven't really had the time to get my head around. But from the last article that I read and really had a chance to kind of digest fully, it wasn't looking good. It looks like the SEC is looking like they're wanting to take the opportunity of 2023 to come down hard. And if FTX hadn't completely crapped the bed, there's a chance that this SEC outcome may actually have been the opposite. They may have been more favorable towards crypto precedent and XRP. But I think the fact that the sentiment in Washington right now is going to be strong regulation around crypto, I think the SEC has every reason for XRP to be the whipping boy here and take the hit. Do I want that? Not necessarily. No. I mean, I'm not invested in it, so I have a little bit of a bias. I'm not down on it. I'm not a bag holder of XRP. But it's definitely not my favorite coin. But I also don't want to upset anybody needlessly. Yeah. Would I like the SEC to lose in that case? Yes. That's ultimately how I would. But I think, unfortunately, you
want XRP to lose or want them to win?
No, I want the SEC to lose.
The SEC to lose.
Yeah. I want XRP to win. Yeah. Just because of the precedent that would set. But it's complicated, man. There's definitely a lot of moving parts. Tim, what do you think?
So I'm gonna actually kind of answer both the XRP question and the regulation question because I think that these two are actually very connected. Unfortunately, and this is not what I'm rooting for. I'm just based off of what I'm seeing. After mid 2022, it looked like there was a lot of hope that XRP was gonna win. Like you just said, XRP pooped the bed. Not XRP. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. FTX pooped the bed for the crypto space. You knew what I meant, but I want to make sure people don't cut that the wrong way. I think that there's so much negativity around crypto persona by people that don't understand it. I think there's a good chance that XRP ends up losing this.
Yeah.
I think at this point what they're actually working on is to salvage their name and to salvage Ripple and to go on as top as they can. There was a rumor in the past that they were going to be settling. That ended up being false. But most rumors have kernels of truth to them. So while we didn't see XRP settle, we didn't see Ripple settle, where did that rumor come from? What was those things? What was developing there? I think there's a decent chance that XRP ends up losing, and that the XRP ends up losing, and then the SEC starts going after other altcoins. And now we jump into what is regulation going to look like? First of all, good news for Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not going to be regulated by the SEC. It's going to be regulated by the CFTC.
Yeah,
very good for Bitcoin. The hope at this point is that others can escape out as well, like Ethereum. We already know from Gary Gensler's mouth himself, there was a video that was posted where he kind of insinuated Algorand is not on his level. He must know the creator of it. I don't know. Like, he's not going to go after Algorand. He's already kind of given them a buy. But my question is, he's going to go after Ethereum. He's going to go after Cardano. He's going to go after AVAX. He's going to go after, some of these other real Atom, Matic. Is he going to go after these other projects? Are they going to be suppressed?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the sad thing about this. And I know a lot of people are going to say this is terrible. He shouldn't do this. The sad thing is you almost can't even blame him because of what we just happened with FTX. Because of some altcoins, and I could go on for days and days naming some altcoins that could fall into this boat. But I've heard even more recently from people that I have relationships with that are in the space that deal with the developers of certain altcoins. There is such a dirty space out there of people who just want to steal money from people, so they create cryptocurrencies and go on these extravagant lies about them just to make money.
Mm-hmm.
The insider trading that is happening in crypto, these small altcoins, about knowing when things are being released and when things are being put on exchanges, and the plan from the very get-go is to market and pump, and then as soon as we get this massive news that makes the price of it jump 10x, the developers themselves are bailing on the project.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a very evil and wicked space in cryptocurrencies that are giving the legit ones bad names, and unfortunately, because of that, the SEC is going to get very involved. Regulation is not going to look like what we all want it to look like for cryptocurrencies. It will not kill the whole space. I still see Ethereum and Cardano and others make it out, but it will kill a lot of cryptocurrencies. And it's long term, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world to get rid of those. The really sucky thing is the hurting on DeFi protocols that are legitimate and that actually are here to help create a better financial situation. But my prediction for 2023, there will still be some questions, but we will end 2023 with certain clarity on what regulation looks like. And there will be a lot of disappointments. There will be some victories of coins, again, like Algorand, that escaped the SEC, but there's going to be some disappointments. I don't know who, I don't know what, but by the end of this year, there will be a big coin, a big product that a lot of people like that loses to the SEC just like XRP did.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be fun. What do you think about that?
Well, if I were to pull up Coin Market Cap here, just take a look at it, you get a good picture of all the major coins that the SEC, and just regulators in general are likely to take a look at here. The first three, Gary Gensler and other major names in the regulatory space have already said that Bitcoin is a commodity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think even in the worst case of scenarios of regulation, they leave Bitcoin alone. And they allow the CFTC to go ahead and regulate that. But I want to say the worst case scenario, again, worst case for regulation is that even Ethereum gets classified as a violation of the SEC Howey rule.
Yep, that's kind of what I was alluding to. Is I hope not, but there's a chance. Yeah. Well, there's a chance.
I mean, if you read the Howey rule, the Howey test, it's not that I agree with it, but there is a strong argument for Ethereum being that. Let's take a look at it just while we're on the subject of regulation. So the Howey test here, you can take a look at it here. Howey test attempts to determine if there is an investment of money in a common enterprise with a reasonable expectation of profits to be derived from the efforts of others. So, if you can read that and you can justify to yourself that Ethereum does not pass that does not fall within the parameters of that definition, then good for you. But when I read it, it squarely falls into that definition. Now, that doesn't mean that Ethereum has to be classified as that, because the Howey test ultimately is really old. It was created to define like citrus farms, and but it's been used. It's been common precedent. So I think if you, again, going back to this list here, you have Bitcoin, that's safe. All the rest of these are in question, but there are some like Litecoin and Dogecoin that it's unclear that there isn't a party that is still able to augment the code or that could produce something ongoing that would increase the value, so to speak.
Yeah. They
could get out there on Twitter and say rah rah rah, but can they actually do anything behind the scenes to the code that would change the supply? In some coins, again, like Litecoin and Dogecoin, it's not clear that they have those traits. So they may pass the Howey test. The other ones would be the stable coins, Tether, USD, and Binance USD, BUSD. Those are gonna be regulated differently. They may come down harder on those. They may not.
Real quick, get a short answer. Do you think we end the year 2023 with all three of those still in existence? Binance, Coin, Tether, and USDC.
In existence, yes.
Do you think all three of them survive 2023?
Yes. I do. I think that because you also have to remember the government likes to move slow. So what they'll probably do is they'll say, well, there's all these institutions that are invested.
Yeah.
Big banks that own Ethereum because of its ESG implications and all of that. So they'll say, look, we're going to sunset this whole crypto thing. Any coins that issued coins that we deem as securities, we're going to dissolve. We're gonna put a sunset on the legality of those in 2026, 2027. So you'd see a sell-off, but they wouldn't just go away. And then whenever that sunset period comes and those coins then become illegal, then that's when they disexist, right?
Yeah.
That's just a scenario I'm making up. I'm not saying that that's the way it has to be, but just looking at the history, there's no clear and immediate threat and danger to the American people with these coins existing. And again, I'm looking at it from their perspective. I don't think there's any danger with these coins existing, but I think that they're gonna want to go slow with this because I mean, look at the freaking market cap of this. It's like $1.5 billion would just completely. What would that? Would it just disappear? Would it get returned to investors? Would it go to would the government just assume ownership of that, custody of that? What would happen to that? So there's all those questions that need to be answered. I think most coins. Let me put it like this: I don't think regulation is what is going to be to totally wipe out crypto in 2023. I think regulation may set the tone of what to expect in the future that could potentially wipe things out. Okay, so that's all the heavy pessimistic worst case scenario. I think though more realistically, what's going to happen is that it's the big banks are going to figure out what they want and they're going to lobby for what they want. And I don't think that what they want is for the top 10, even top 20 cryptos to be banned. I think there might be a couple bad apples in there that'll get investigated. I mean, there's been some pretty troubling headlines that have come out in last year about companies like or coins like AVAX. And maybe they're solid, maybe they're great. But there are some ones that definitely I think probably need some investigation to make sure that what they're doing is not a Ponzi scheme like what FTX was running. And ultimately, I hope that Binance makes it through. That's one that I think has a lot of value. But if there's a bunch of shenanigans going on behind the scenes and they're funding illicit trade and there's all kind of crazy stuff going on, they should be brought down.
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll say on that issue before we move on to our last topic of our prediction, what's really important about the Howey test, because I know there's a lot of people out there saying like it's not gonna that's not a security, it doesn't fail the Howey test. Here's the issue: the Howey test, like a lot of things in law, is vague. It has a thing that good lawyers can make a case for either side. It passes the Howey test, it fails the Howey test. Here's the problem, and the reason why Ethereum and others are going to be in trouble. Even if a good argument could be made for it to pass the Howey test and to say it doesn't classify that, the bias at the moment for judges and people who are involved who do not understand cryptocurrency is they are going to err on the side of negativity. They're going to err on the side of let's be overprotective. So again, no FTX collapse. I think there's a good chance Ripple and XRP end up making a successful.
I'm just trying to bring people's attention to the likes.
I think there's a good chance that Ripple ends up winning because of FTX and the negativity and the overall just feeling of, wow, crypto is a little bit of a sketchy place. We got to regulate it harshly. is going to lean towards, even if a good case is made for passing the Howey test on Ethereum and other projects, is that going to convince the judge? I don't know. So that's going to be an interesting story to keep up to date with in 2023. Let's move on to the last one. Your last prediction, T-Shroom. Let's talk about dominance. And what do you think? I said altcoin dominance, but let's actually switch it. What do you think about Bitcoin dominance? What do you think a high for Bitcoin dominance could be in the year 2023? Currently sitting at 41.95%.
Yeah. Well, if I just bring up a chart here, you can kind of see, let's see. So it's at what?
41, almost 42%.
This one doesn't have the percentages though.
If you go on your charts, BTC.D on TradingView gives you the chart for dominance.
Okay.
Boom.
Well, I think fundamentally, let me just zoom out to the fundamentals of this. I think you got to give it to Bitcoin. I think all of the regulation talk, just the chatter around regulation, not any kind of voting or voting to pass or voting anything, or foreign nations voting for banning or limiting or whatever kind of regulation. I think you got to give it to Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, you can't alter it, or every node would have to vote to alter it, and it's very unlikely that would happen. So I think you got to see Bitcoin gain dominance in this 2023 market. Without even going to the charts.
Yeah, and here's the thing with the charts. I actually talked about this a couple of months ago, and I made the prediction that Bitcoin would never see 50% dominance again. This was before the FTX collapse. This was before the SEC got a lot of strength in its sales. With what we could see happening in 2023, this is another kind of segue from what we were just talking about with regulation. I think we do see Bitcoin get back over 50%. And I think there's a chance, if things go really south, that we're talking about the Ethereum loses the SEC. We're talking about Cardano loses the SEC. We're talking about like stable coins start to, even have some question marks. I think that we could see Bitcoin get back up towards closer, maybe even back to 60%. Coming back up here, if you guys are on my chart, maybe coming back here aheads. This is about 57. Back where we kind of bottomed out here in August of 2020, I think we could see Bitcoin get back up to those almost 60% levels. Of course, that is if we see massive corrections on the SEC going after altcoins, and we see almost the entire crypto space be obliterated because they just can't survive with how harsh that regulation is. That's the route for a Bitcoin to get back up to being very, very high. I think we're going to see potentially Bitcoin more side with like metals, like we've talked about in the past. I think we might see Bitcoin finally become what people have been calling it, digital gold. It starts to be treated more like a commodity, like gold and silver and other things. And it's almost, even though we all know it's cryptocurrency, people won't think of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies as being the same thing. I think in the future, when people say crypto, they might be thinking Ethereum, Cardano, Algorand. But when people say Bitcoin, they're thinking, oh, gold, commodity, silver, potentially backing of money, as we're seeing fiat currency start to go downhill. So that's the one thing. The only good thing that you could take away from the SEC gaining a lot of power is, well, that's really good for Bitcoin. And that's what you hear Bitcoin maxis screaming from the top of the rooftops. They're loving what is happening right now with XRP. They're loving Gary Gensler gaining this power back because it gives a brighter future to what they want, and that is Bitcoin. What are your thoughts, T-Shroom? And then we'll go ahead and wrap out this stream.
Yeah, I mean, again, I do think you see the dominance come back pretty strong, and in favor of Bitcoin. In terms of CBDCs, I think that 2023 is the year of CBDCs. I've been doing a lot of research on that stuff, and the United States has started its research through the central banks, the Fed, the New York Fed. Sorry, it took me a little second to get there. The New York Fed has already begun researching digital dollar CBDC, and they have even collaborated with the Bank of Singapore to test international transactions and things like that. And I think that it's, I doubt that the U.S. is going to launch a CBDC in 2023 or ever, but I think that you're going to be seeing a lot. And guys, there was a huge headline last week that the Russian government has launched a gold-backed digital stablecoin. So it's tethered. It's pegged to the price of gold, which is around $1,800. That varies a lot month to month, but that is huge. That is one to watch. They have already gotten a big bank to sign on with that. It's launched by their bank. I don't think it's a central bank. I think it's there's a lot more to unfold about it. They've just announced it last week, but it is they're calling it a stable coin. So I don't think they're trying to label it as a CBDC, but it is huge from a geopolitical standpoint. Think about it like this. The United States, most powerful currency in the world, the dollar, went off the gold standard in 1971, right? Since then, no country has thought to themselves, well, I'm sure they've thought to themselves, and economists have probably pleaded with world leaders, please, let's launch our own gold standard, our own gold-backed coin, our own gold-backed currency. None of them have done it. Or if they've done it, they've failed because of how strong and powerful the United States influence is. Well, now the Russians are doing it, and they have the backing of the Chinese, and they have launched a digital gold-backed currency, meaning there's a bunch of gold that they have in reserves in Russia, in Moscow, right? And for every stable coin of this new currency that they're putting out, you could potentially, I don't know how they're going to work it with this, but you could potentially call that, and you would get that gold. It would be redeemable in gold. That's how a gold standard works. So CBDCs, huge to watch in 2023. I think, and it'd also be interesting to see how the dominance would work with that. If CoinMarketCap would start carrying those CBDCs, or if there would have to be a whole nother website to track those, so there wouldn't be like a contaminant of of CBDCs. Yeah. I think that CBDCs, there should be like a toggle to where you can see them on CoinMarketCap. But before we go, though, I have an important thing to mention here, which is we want to make sure that you guys go down into the description. If you were thinking of signing up for Bitcoin 2023, we have, they are an affiliate of ours, and we have a link down there, and you can just type in the code that is down there. And that code I will read to you just so that you know. I'm pretty sure it's just Investing Bros. That's just Investing Bros. Just Investing Bros, all caps. But this is gonna be a lot of fun. I am like 99% sure that I'm going to be able to go as of now, but it's a little ways off, and I am in the Army, so who knows, what calamity may come in May, late May of 2023. There could be something that the National Guard needs my services for. But as of now, I am going. And if you want to see me, and Tim is not going, correct? Going.
I'm not. The week after is the due date for my wife's child and my child. So
that's right.
I am going to be prepared for anything crazy.
Yeah.
So I will not be in Miami, but I'll be here. I'll do the when T-Stream's gone. I'll be doing the show either by myself. Maybe I can rope in Smay.
Yeah.
To come in with me.
What if we were able to find a wealthy donor who could coordinate you and Taylor finding a hospital down in Miami?
Oh my gosh, no, I don't think so. I think she has a whole plan and everything.
All right. Sorry, wealthy donor. Maybe next baby.
Maybe next time. Yeah. Well, guys, that is all we have. I know we ran a little long. That's all we have for today, but make sure if you joined late, go back and watch the beginning. It was a full-packed show. We needed all 70 minutes of this show to get through all the predictions we made. It's going to be a great year, 2023, and we are excited to be on the journey with you. If you have not already, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and you have smashed that like button. We will see you tomorrow. We love you. Have a great day.